Greetings, everybody. This is Robert Messina, and what I usually do is read at least one of the last verses of the previous chapter. In this case, it's chapter 7. Let's just read it. So the last verse there was only 10 verses in chapter 7. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that Haman had prepared for Mordecai, and then was the king's wrath pacified. Okay? The king represents Jesus, and his wrath is pacified. Believe me, he has wrath, and we went over the wrath that he had. There was an aleph and a tav before the phrase, or within the phrase, in the middle of the phrase, that they hanged Haman. All right? Now, anytime it does that, I always wonder what aleph and tav is doing. Is it's saying, whatever I'm saying here, we put a lot of work, and we meaning the sons of God himself and all of the angels, a lot of work went into what just happened here. That they hanged Haman. Even the characters that are in this play had to do a lot of work. That because I saw the aleph and the tav in that phrase, I thought about the phrase and wondering why it's there. And that's what I do all the time. Maybe I said it already 10 times. But they hanged Haman. Now Haman was the Antichrist, the man. Now he represents the time when Antichrist, the man, in Revelation, is going to exalt himself as God in the middle of the week, in the temple that was just constructed. Yes, there's going to be a temple, a new temple, and all of that. But it's going to get defiled in its first day. That's how I see it. Because it's going to take them at least 3.5 years. The temple is going to get started once Daniel 9:27 has it and talks about a week that already happened, a 7-year week that already happened, the Oslo Accords. And in the middle of the week, and then he talks about another week. In the middle of the week, he's talking about the 7-year tribulation. It throws everybody off, I know, but this is what was pointed out to me. Because the middle of the week of tribulation has a clear middle. It uses the word half. It doesn't use the word midst. You see the English word midst, in the midst of the week. But that word is really saying this is a divided week. It's divided right in half. 1,290 days the first, 1,290 days the second. Now, the second is different as far as time-wise, because in the second half is spelled out as time, times, and a dividing of times. It doesn't have the number of days. It doesn't have the number of months like the first half does. It has just what I said, time, times, dividing of times, and it always has been interpreted as a time, 1 year, times 2 years, and a dividing of time, a half a year. So that's time times dividing of times. And that is really a useful way to refer to it, because it really isn't 3.5 years per se. It's different kinds of times are in that. There's the times of the seals, there's the times of the trumpets, there's the times of the vials, there's a time of the last trump, And what happens after the last trump? It's a different time. There's a time when there is no time. Now it's all eternity. It's all in there. There's 1,000 years as one day time. It's very, very complicated in the second half. And that's the reason why they have two expressions, one for the first half and one for the second half. You get a day, when Jesus returns and he begins the millennium. The millennium has one day that's as 1,000 years. So that time in the second half has 1,000 years in it that's only counted as one day. 1,290. It's one of those 1,290 days. I don't know which one exactly it is. Okay? But I know it's close to the end. It represents the end. But there happens to be a big piece of the year still left when that happens. And that's not this topic. But it's included in this topic. There's so many things that these ALEF and TAVs point to. And in this case, it's pointing to the son of perdition, Haman, that they hanged. Now, he had the same exact fate for Judas. He had, he was the son of perdition as well. And they hung Haman, they hung Judas. Or he hung himself. Believe me, Haman hung himself too. And the other thing that comes out with this is that Haman made that gallows to hang his arch enemy Mordecai. That gallows was made to hang Mordecai. And Mordecai represents John the Baptist, and he puts on sackcloth and ashes, which also represents the two witnesses. One of the two witnesses is Elijah, and John the Baptist came with the spirit and power of Elijah. So everything, I mean, as I'm going through this, I'm pointing these things out. But anyway, Haman's judgment on Mordecai was that he should be hanged, and guess what happened? Jesus says, as you judge, so shall you be judged. All right? And that's what happened to him. He built the gallows for the one that he didn't like. And why doesn't he like him? Because when he passed him by, the man doesn't even move. He doesn't. Everybody's worshiping him and thinking him great and everything. And they worship the beast. They worship the Antichrist, the man. They did, and they do, and they will. But worship has a sense of movement, has a sense of respect, high respect, over respect, affection. Mordecai didn't have that at all. Okay, so let's start reading now. That was the last verse of 7, so let's see where it's going in the first verse of 8. On that day did King Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. Mordecai was like her father. He took over when she became an orphan. The true religion that he had as John the Baptist was visiting the widows and the orphans. Her father happened to be his uncle, so he was in the family anyway. He should have been doing that. So on that day that we're talking about, the next day, the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, onto Esther, the queen. Basically, Mordecai is not getting hanged. Haman is. Haman had a great house and a great position, and that great house and position are going to be given to Mordecai. And that's because Esther is the queen, and the king loves his wife, and his wife happens to be Jewish, and she never told him because Mordecai told her not to tell anybody. But then he said, tell them. There was a time that she had to tell him. And we already went through that. Now, the house of Haman has an Aleph and a Tav before it. And that's because it is a high position in the ruling of the Medes and the Persians right now. It has that high position. And it's a great house, and it's a lot of respect. And John the Baptist is going to get a lot of respect now for what he says and what he does. Up until this point, he was just a gatekeeper, and you should know that because you should be listening to the other chapters. But I know everybody you have to make time to listen to it. I understand. Esther 8:2, and the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai, and Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. So the king gave Haman that ring, which meant a lot of power. And then he took it away from him. He took it away from Haman, and he gave it to Mordecai. So the way one was hanged, and one meant to hang, and he was hanged, and one had the ring and was taken from him, and now Mordecai has that ring, and he has the house. And so there's an Aleph and a Tav before the phrase, within the phrase, the king took off his ring. All right. Mordecai over house of Haman has an Aleph and a Tav before Mordecai in that phrase. Mordecai over the house of Haman. So the ring and the house, again, are two high positions with power and ruling. It's like Mordecai is now seated at the right hand, like Joseph was. Joseph, who was thrown into prison. And Joseph, the innocent man, thrown into prison. Mordecai, the innocent man, accused not only him of death and destruction, all of his people throughout the kingdom. And I don't mind saying it again. If that would have happened, we would not have a Messiah, because Messiah came through Israel, through specifically the line of Judah. And the line of Judah uses the word Jews. Okay, verse 3. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with his tears. Let me just read it again. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears, to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he devised against the Jews. To start to break this down, I'm going to jump a little bit ahead, and one of the verses that's in this chapter, though, points out that this happens the day that she's falling down at his feet and crying and upset, and really her sorrow is really hard. It happens to be the 66th day since the day of first fruits. And the day of first fruits was was the third day of her fast. The day of first fruits ended her fast. She began the fast on the first of 3 days. So when she fasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and she had everybody anybody that was Jewish throughout the whole kingdom do the fast. And so was Mordecai. Mordecai had a fast too. Mordecai was already fasting. He was already in sackcloth and ashes. Anyway, she wants him to do that too. And then came the third day. That represents the Feast of First Fruits. And that represents the day that the Omer is counted, and there's 50 days. Then there's Pentecost, and we went through this already throughout the chapters. But I have to remind you, because that's the reason it comes out with the chap in verse 3, and they explain how I know it's 66th day in another verse later. So that's why I had to bring it out now, to let you know why she's crying all of a sudden. All right? Now, a lot of good things happened with Haman died and not Mordecai, as we just saw. That good thing happened, but there's still things that are... She's still here in the 66th day, and there's still a judgment day coming where all the Jews... Once you see, that was a decree with the ring and all, and you can't... Once a king has a decree in this empire, nobody could change it. Nobody could change it except the king. Now, they're going to get that. It's going to be changed. And that's the great miracle. Anyway, there are 2 Alefs and Tavs in this. The first one is in the phrase, put away the mischief of Haman. Okay? That's why she's crying. She wants to put away the mischief of Haman, which is still lingering. And the second phrase, and his device that he devised against the Jews. Now, what did he devise against the Jews? They should be killed, destroyed, and perish. And he set it all up where there was going to be a specific day, and that was going to be a day they're going to celebrate. And you should already know what that day is. But okay, so let's go to the next verse here. 4. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king. She did something that she was afraid to do earlier, but now she's got a little more boldness in her. And she was overcome with all the heartache that she's having, because times 66 days, she doesn't, I don't know if she reconciles that with 666, the man, Antichrist the man. I don't know if she reconciles that, but it came upon her, is the main thing. So she holds out the golden scepter, which allows her to talk to the king. And so there she is. She raises up from washing his feet to standing up and talking to him. And the golden scepter has that powerful allowance to talk to the king and come into his presence if you touch it, if he allows you to touch it. All right, verse 5. Now Esther's talking now, and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. All right, so what he devised was this letter that was sent out, and let something be written to reverse those letters. Plural. They went out to all the nation, all the provinces, all the Jews, all the enemies of the Jews as well. Okay, so that verse, let it be written to reverse the Jews, that's got an aleph and a tav within the midst of it. To destroy the Jews, that has the aleph and the tav before that. So you can see these are two heavy actions that are happening right now. Heavy actions. And again, the Alpha and the Omega, I mean, he's God, and he would have got out of it somehow, but this is how he's getting out of it now. And it's a lot. It's not nothing. Especially when I see an Aleph and a Tav in the phrase like that, I have to think about it. And even if it was mentioned already that it was important, even if it's said another time, it's sort of like heaven and earth. Aleph and Tav were before both of them in the first verse. Okay, verse 6. For how can I endure to see evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see destruction of my kindred? So you see, it's almost poetic where, how can I endure? And how can I endure? Says it again. To see evil. To see destruction. To see evil of what? To see evil upon my people. To see destruction upon my kindred. She says it, repeats it. Even that is putting focus on what's going on. She's in 66, and 66 is a time when we all have to endure until the end. We know he's coming back, but we have to endure until the end. We're going to see the mark. We're going to see the apostasy of those that are falling away because they want to get the mark. They can't buy or sell without it, and they lose. They don't endure. Then they also worship the image that was set up, and they don't endure. They fall away. They worship that image. They deny Jesus. Okay? She has to endure. The playwright of this play really did a good job. He doesn't even have his name on it. Anyway, Esther 8:7. Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they hanged upon the gallows, which is tree, because he laid his hand upon Jews. So now, not only is he taking care of Mordecai, who is special to Esther, he's now considering the injustice of Haman laying his hands upon the Jews like he did. Okay, verse 8. Write ye also for the Jews what is good in your eyes, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For writing that is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse. All right, so the very thing that was a brick wall to a great hindrance, that this is already written, sealed with the ring, and can't be reversed, is now getting overshadowed with another decree that can't be reversed. And that is going to be something that is whatever is good in your eyes. And the king is talking to Esther and Mordecai. And they know what is good in their eyes. And what is good in their eyes? To reverse that decree and allow the Jews to overcome. All right, so now that whole thing that we just went over there brings me to Revelation 5, the first 4 verses. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside that was sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" Remember it says, no man can change. If there's a decree written like it was, no man can change it. This same kind of thing happens in heaven. There's a scroll written and they're sealed and they have to be opened. And there's a big reason that they have to be opened, and that's salvation for everybody, because this last 7 years, end of the last 7 years, is when he comes back. That's when the salvation is implemented. It's done. It's here. It's with us. The salvation that we have with the King has to be back when he comes. He has to come first. And he can't come unless these seals are opened, because he comes at the end of the 7th trumpet, and the 7th trumpet is within the last seal. And they have to be opened in order. At least that's the way it's read. They have to be opened in order, and they are opened in order. I don't have to say they have to, but I can say they are opened in order. What is the biggest no man can reverse? The biggest curse of God that came from the King himself, God Almighty, to the man that no man could reverse. What is the greatest hardship, the greatest remorse, the greatest cry, the greatest grief, the greatest enemy? What came from the mouth of God to us because we did something. And that is, if you eat of that fruit, you shall surely die. And no man was able to reverse that. No man was able to not obey it. Everybody was under it. It was the curse. That was the biggest no man can reverse. And the biggest no man that can reverse was reversed. The Lamb who sits on the throne, the Lion of Judah, was able to reverse it. And he did reverse it. And those that don't worship the idol, lest they be killed, and that was from the King himself, the Antichrist, the beast, the man, the 666, the false prophet, the false god, the false. He was the one who made that decree that nobody can reverse. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they didn't worship it anyway. And they were thrown into the fiery furnace to be destroyed, to be killed, and to perish. But the king looked into the furnace, and there were 4 men still alive. There were 4, and he says one of them looked like the Son of God. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and read the book, neither to look thereon. So you see, John is one of those that is waiting for redemption and waiting for Jesus to return. He's just like all of us right now. And he's weeping when he sees that there's nobody in heaven that can open that book. Nobody can open the seals. Why? It's the same reason. It's sealed with the king's ring. Almighty God. The prophets. It's sealed. That's why he's weeping. Okay, let's go to 9. Then were the king's scribes called at that time, in the 3rd month, Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies, and rulers of the provinces, which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces in Shushan and Jerusalem, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing, and according to their language. All right, so this is now the device of Mordecai that's going to overlap and cover over the device of Haman. And he's got the ring now. He's got the king's permission to do this. He's got the scribes, and it's getting done. So, to undo the seals are overcoming the seals, overcoming the actions of what are contained in each seal. And that will do. So now, let's get back to the 23rd day of the 3rd month, Sivan. Then that's what I was saying. The 66 days since the day of first fruits. And first fruits was the day that Esther had began what she had to do, all the things that she's been doing to help fix the big problem of the destruction that Haman had devised. All right, so that's where I get it. I counted what the 23rd day was of the 3rd month. And if you count from the day of first fruits to this day, it's 66, which brings Esther back right into the midst of the man whose number is 666. He hasn't gone away. And to us right now, he's still there. He's waiting in the wings right now. But he's still there. He's about to show his face. And it's through that covenant 9:27. Daniel 9:27. All right, so it's going out. It's going out to all people. Everybody knows about the 7-year tribulation. They don't have it fully understood. They all think that they don't have to go. A lot of saints think they don't have to go through tribulation, because it was just like the days of Babylon, when the prophets were telling them that Babylon's going to be destroyed, we're going to be taken captive, and not Babylon was going to be destroyed, their temple was going to be destroyed, and they were going to be taken captive to Babylon. And they did not believe that. The false prophets were telling people, no, this ain't going to happen. Not to our people. We have God in our midst. He's right in that temple. He's right there. The way they had to give us the ark back, they can't touch that temple, that ark. God fights for us. We are going to not even have to worry about that. Sorry. It doesn't say that. It does not say that without adding words. Unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language. So that's everybody else besides the Jews, and now the Jews, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. So it's going out, that's what I'm saying. It's going out to both groups. It's going out to the general public, and it's going out to the saints of God. I'll say the saints of God, because Jews are also Israel. Israel and Jews are also the same thing. To my people and to my kindred is the way she says it. All right, so now the 66 days were 16 days ahead after the day of Pentecost should have happened. It just didn't happen, and that's part of the crying. Now, I'm bringing this up because of that 120 number that was in there. And the thing that number 120 to me points out to the day of Pentecost, where there were 120 in the upper room. It's actually stated, the number 120 is actually in there. I think it's in there because the 120 names are the 120 provinces throughout the kingdom. Now there's the 120 plus 7, and but the 7 are provinces within the city itself. All right, within Shushan. I actually went over that in prior chapters. What's similar in Pentecost is that it's 50 days after the first fruits, which is the number that the gallows, you see that ladder there, that tall ladder, Jacob's ladder, the heavens are opening. That number 50 is how high the gallows were. And so that number 50 pointed me to the counting of the Omer, which leads to the day of Pentecost, where heaven opens and Melchizedek rules within us. That's what we're going to get, and maybe we'll get it. You could say maybe we'll get it next year. But we did get it, and Peter could tell you that. And ask him when you see him. If you don't believe the writings. All right, verse 10. And he wrote, this is Mordecai now, and he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by posts on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, young dromedaries. They're mentioning burden bearers with letters. An apostle means a sent letter. That's who came to us. These were burden bearers with the burden of the good news upon them and going out into all the earth. And that's what I see when I see this. When he sent out the letters, he sent out the apostles. Apostles means a sent letter. And so let's go to Matthew 24:14 to bring it to our age. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. 11. Wherein the king granted Jews in every city to gather themselves together and to stand for their life, and to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take spoil of them for a prey. All right, let's read that again. Wherein the king granted Jews in every city to gather themselves together and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and the province that would assault them, the Jews, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. So this is where it's getting reversed right here. Those people that Haman told to destroy the Jews and to have power over them and assault them and to take them for a spoil and a prey, it was reversed. Now the Jews were going to stand for their life to destroy and to cause to perish all those that had the intent and power to do it to them. And if so, this is a fight now. This is a sword fight with words. And those two phrases there, all the power of the people and province, that's got an aleph and a tav at the beginning. All the power of the people. And it's got an aleph and a tav within the phrase, would assault them, both little ones and women. And you can see the green, the green et, aleph and tav in that phrase. And the mem at the end is got something to do with the word them. It's got something to do with that word them, all right? And so it's needed. All right, let's go to 12. Upon one day, in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, that's the day of Purim, which is now celebrated every year since the time of Esther, basically 1 month before Passover, in the first month. So the 12th month is before the first month, in the circle of things. So it's one day that this whole thing is going to happen. Now the big fight, the big sword fight, is going to happen in one day, and it's going to be this day that he's pointing out here. Purim was going to be that day when people of God were going to possibly be overcome with death, but the whole thing was changed. And it's what this whole thing is about. We have a Savior is what the whole thing is about. So I have in brackets there, Purim is no longer a day when people of God fear death. In fact, it's just the opposite. They're happy to live and they celebrate life. Now 13, the copy of writing, a commandment, to be given in every province, published unto all people, that Jews be ready against that day, to avenge themselves on their enemies. Now that copy of writing and is commanded to be given to in every province, published to all people, that represents the gospel that Jesus is asking us to share with the world. And it goes from believer to believer to believer, by word of mouth and by hearing of the ears. Okay? And that day, be ready against that day, is the day of Jacob's troubles, which is still in front of us. That day is still there. It's the tribulation. To avenge themselves on their enemies. And now this is a war against saints, because Antichrist, the beast, wages war against the saints and overcomes them. It's still in front of us. the way it was in front of them in those days, in the days of Esther, and they overcame it. And that day came, and they did take, it's in this chapter. 14. So posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hasted and pressed by the king's commandment, decree, news, was given at Shushan Palace. And Shushan Palace represents the Jerusalem and Samaria, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, housed those 7 provinces that I spoke about, that are actually separate from the 120, which is all of the provinces in the empire. I noticed hastens and pressed. Pressed, to me, that's printing press. So that reminds me of Acts 1, verse 8. But you shall receive power. After that, the Holy Ghost has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem, and in all Judea, and in Samaria, and unto the uttermost part of the earth. So you see how Jerusalem and Samaria are sort of like separate, because that's where the heart of Jesus is in. He's in those 2 kingdoms, the northern and southern kingdom, and he's going to have them be one stick, and there's going to be one fold, and there's going to be, right now there's 2 folds. The Samaria is actually where the church is represented in the Samaria, northern kingdom. I mean, that's my take. Okay, in verse 15, and Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen, purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. All right, so I found this on Google's image search. It's a nice picture, and it was the best one that displayed Mordecai arrayed with the crown and all that. They rejoiced and was glad. We throw our crowns, by the way, when we realize that the one who has the many crowns is the one who deserves everything, because he's the one who called us. We didn't call him, he called us. And he gave us the commands of what to do, and he gifted us and emboldened us and strengthened us to be able to do it. So, who was really doing it? Really, it was he was doing it. And we got crowns. And that's okay that we got crowns. But notice that the 24 elders throw their crowns before him, because they realize all of that. And verse 16 is very short. The Jews had light, gladness, joy, and honor. But it says a lot, doesn't it? In fact, it's recorded in Revelation 21. Essentially, it's repeated in Revelation 21, verses 23 to 26. Now the Jews had light, and the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and it also shall have honor. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the Jews will have gladness and joy. And the kings of the earth shall bring their glory unto it. See? So glory is, our gladness and joy is our glory. It's that heavy joy that hovers over us. For there shall be no night there. We're in light, no night, no darkness. We can see what we're doing. We can see. But we have light, but there's no sun. If there were darkness, we'd have a moon, but there is no darkness. There is no night. And they shall bring glory and honor of the nations to it. Let's go to the last verse. 17. And in every province and in every city, the king's commandment and his decree, the gospel, came. And Jews, let's say people of God, had joy, gladness, a feast, and a good day. Now this is the day of Purim. And many of the people of the land became Jews, believed, for the fear of the Jews, the fear of God, fell upon them. See, every time I have it in brackets, it's the part that they're playing, these things that are happening, the commandment and the decree, that represents the gospel. The Jews, they represent people of God. And believe me, it's Jews. The name Jew also means Israel, the 12 tribes. And it also means people of God. Gentiles that are basically Jews. Because they have the same God and they worship the same God. And Jesus was a Jew of the tribe of Judah. So that's the reason why the word Jew can mean the people of God. Okay, so the good news was sent out and the people believed, for the fear of God fell upon them. I mean, the good news is a double-edged sword. It points out all the good things that happen, and guess what? It points out what happens if you don't come aboard and believe. That's the fear of God. He wants you to come aboard because of the goodness that he has for you, not so much because you're afraid of him. Because there's no need to be afraid of him. He loves you. He's love, pure light, pure joy and gladness. We're the feast. We're at the banquet. We're at his banquet. He's feasting with us. And we have a good day. Now, there's really only one day. The one day that lasts, the day that's 1,000 years is still part of the 6th day. But the 7th day, we go from the 1,000 years to the day of rest with God. And that's forever. There's no work. There's nothing to do. It's a rest day. But you shall receive power. After that the Holy Ghost is come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem, and in Samaria, and in all Judea, and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. Okay, that's chapter 8. It's concluded. Believe it or not, there were 10 Alefs and Tavs in this 17 verses. So it's a high percentage, over 50%. Much greater than the other ones that were just a little bit over 50%. This one, chapter 7, was under 50%. So this is making up for it. And we're going to get to the last chapter, chapter 9. That's going to be basically the end of there's no alefs and tavs in chapter 10. And chapter 10 is going to be a review. We're going to review all of it. We're going to review all the main parts of each chapter in chapter 10. Okay? So, this is where I like to, I've noticed the angels a lot more for some reason. That they're working, they're with us, they see us, they hear us, they're sent to us, they give us things, they strengthen us, and they bring messages from the mouth of God to our ears and our hearts, and that's what's happening. The kingdom of God is within us. He's speaking it right into our hearts, but it has to get from his mouth to our hearts somehow, and that's where the Melchizedek who resides within us, the Holy Spirit resides within us, and he is God. So I guess the angels get it from the Father, who gives it to the Son, who gives it to Melchizedek, who gives it to us, our hearts. Somehow it works like that. But the angels are there to hold us up, lest we dash our feet against the stone. Shalom, shalom. And you should know what that means. From the Prince of Peace to me, to you. Let's say it like that. I just did.